Hi guys, my name is Nick Broughton and I'm a Randomfish. Hit that subscribe button and let's all be random fishes together. So, yes, I am out of the sling temporarily, mostly around the house. Whenever I go outside, I kind of feel like I should wear it purely for that. But anyway, I watched Enola Holmes. I doubt I'm the first reviewer to do this, but I am going to talk about Enola Holmes because, frankly, A, British character, and B, Jesus, this movie is worth talking about. So, what's the basic premise? The basic premise is that you have a third, virtually unknown child in the Holmes family called Enola Holmes. When their father died, both Mycroft and Sherlock disappeared. They left the family home and they went off to do their own thing. Mycroft went off into politics or whatever it is that Mycroft does, and Sherlock would go on to become the detective that we would eventually all know today. Enola, however, obviously being a child when this all went down, had to stay in the house, and she stayed in the house under the supervision of her mother. Now, the cast in this is incredibly interesting. Millie Bobby Brown, obviously as Enola Holmes, she is of Stranger Things fame, and frankly, I am very glad that not only has she gotten a chance to do more stuff as an actress, but I'm also very happy that she's blown it out of the water. I'm not even kidding. It feels so... She brings a level of authenticity to her performance that I legitimately fully enjoy. Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes and Sam Claflin as Mycroft Holmes. Now, playing their mother, the reason why I brought this up, the reason the person who plays her mother is, of course, Tim Burton's constant casting companion, Helena Bonham Carter. I've wanted to say that for so long. Constant casting companion. I love that phrase. I love that combination of words. But in all honesty, she is not. She is not kooky for the sake of being kooky, which is what Helena Bonham Carter has been accused of in the past. She has been accused of being kooky for the sake of being kooky. She has been accused of not really having as much authenticity to her performance as previous other roles that she's had in the past. And honestly, this is a role that I legitimately enjoyed completely and without any form of wanting any Tim Burton-esque flourishes behind it. She legitimately brings not only authenticity to the role, but she also has very strong emotional ties to the main character. She really does. And this is a combination of writer and director as well as actor, obviously, but still, when an actor really makes you feel for a character and really legitimately makes you think, oh my god, this character is so well done, I will 100% always give credit to the actor, because the actor is the reason why I feel like that. A director can only do so much, a writer can only do so much. It is the job of the performer to really suck an audience in. So, you know what, for everyone else in this film, just well flipping done. But anyway, moving on with the plot. We get to a point where Enola is about 16, I believe it is, and her mother goes missing. Now, she's just up and gone. No note, supposedly, and no evidence to suggest where she's gone. So, of course, Mycroft and Sherlock come running back into town and running back up to their old house to see what they can find out. Sherlock is legitimately, not intrigued, but legitimately kind of concerned about finding his mother, for obvious reasons. Mycroft, on the other hand, appears to be more concerned about what to do with Enola, due to the fact that she is a young lady, but she has not had any kind of finishing education. She has not had any education that would allow her to blend into current, at that point in time anyway, current society, which unfortunately at that point in time was obviously the whole women are less than men crap, which obviously nowadays is a load of bollocks anyway. It's almost as much bollocks as it is for the whole... Anyway, not getting into that. But the idea of it is that Mycroft wants to send Enola to a finishing school run by Aunt Petunia. Yes, the actress has a real name, but I'm sorry, I only ever see her as Aunt Flippin' Petunia. There's no other way around this, I'm sorry. But of course, Enola doesn't want to go to this finishing school. What she wants to do is find her mum, which is very obvious, really. You would have thought that would be fairly the decent thing to do. And obviously her mother has helped her over the years to understand and learn about word puzzles and like rearranging words and sort of having an idea, you know, knowing what they actually really spell but disguising them. And it's very interesting. It's almost like just, you know, it's like translating hieroglyphs. You know, it's that wonderful moment about solving something up in your head. It's wonderful. And of course, we get this thing where Enola wants to go off and find her mother, and she leaves the house without telling Mycroft and Sherlock where she's gone. Now, Mycroft very instantly says to Sherlock, "You need to find our mother, and I will find Enola." To which Sherlock says, "Yeah, right." And he tries looking for Enola just as much. We also then get, rather interestingly, the search for the mother it becomes a bit of a side plot, actually, and you kind of focus on this other thing that appears, this potential lord, this guy who's going to enter the House of Lords and vote on this bill about this reform about, you know, bringing more justice to women, you know, and everything else, and sort of giving women more of a vote in the world and everything else and all this sort of thing. I can't remember exactly what the vote was, and I'm sorry about that, I really am, but I'll be honest, it wasn't so much about what the vote was, it was the fact that it was going to impact and bring about much change. And I like how that's the thing that sticks with me. It's not the fact that what it is, it's the fact that it caused the change. It's the fact that it kick-started the change that brought us into the 21st century, which I, again, absolutely love as a concept. But of course we discover that this lord, this potential lord I should say, is being hunted and trying to be killed by some dude in a bowler hat. Enola ends up being roped into helping him, chooses to go back and help him and everything else. She's eventually caught by Mycroft and sent to the finishing school. And then, of course, we end up meeting, and during all of this, we also end up learning two things. Two very important things, actually, I think, anyway. Is that Enola wants to be Sherlock's ward, not Mycroft's, due to the fact that she was her father's responsibility, but when he died, everything that was legitimately his responsibility was moved to the firstborn child, that being Mycroft. So it was up to him to look after the house, up to him to look after their mother, and it was up to him to look after Enola should anything happen to the mother. Which is what is legitimately happening. She wants to be Sherlock's ward, not Mycroft's. Second thing is that at one point she goes to the house of the potential lord to talk to his family about who the heck could be trying to kill him. And she introduces herself as a friend or an assistant to Sherlock Holmes, which is met by a combination of he doesn't have an assistant and Inspector Lestrade coming in saying, "I'm the only person who really knows Sherlock Holmes," like outside of his immediate family. So we're not only dealing with a young character within the Sherlock Holmes mythology that is, you know, sort of like the female equivalent of Sherlock, but we're also dealing with a pre-Watson Holmes. And honestly, that's something I like. And I'm not saying this because I don't like Watson. I do. But the fact is that before Watson came into Sherlock's life, we didn't really have any details about his life before. We have hints, we have second, third-hand experience, you know, retellings of stories from other people to Watson about Sherlock's past, but there is no legitimate confirmation of his past. And I almost like this fact that this is a Sherlock who is so set in his ways and working on cases alone and still being able to do things right and actually being able to do things right and building up this reputation to be the expert detective in the world. And I just think that's brilliant. But anyway, once Enola goes to the finishing school, she's of course absolutely miserable. And so Sherlock comes to see her. And he tells her all about how he not only has memories of when she was younger before he and Mycroft left, but also how he legitimately does not think of her as less. Well, Mycroft is most definitely more villainous in this film, i.e. he is a big obstacle in Enola's way, very clearly. But Sherlock is a combination of an obstacle and an obstacle that's being moved. He admits that he very much doesn't want to get into politics, he doesn't want to get involved in the affairs of things, because he wants to do his own thing. He wants to stay separate from Mycroft and just do everything that he wants to do and not have the world interfere with him, and he will in turn not interfere with the world. The problem is, though, is that Enola is not only someone who challenges that theory, but challenges it in a way that he legitimately cannot answer her. He wants her to understand and accept the way things are, because they can't really do much to change that. And she says, why shouldn't we? Hell, there's a brilliant scene earlier in the film when Sherlock goes to someone who helped Enola understand her way through London when she gets there in search of her mother. But when he goes to visit this person, she says to him, there are big changes coming. I know you don't do politics. I also know that she's scared and needs someone, and she basically idolizes you. And I love how it is that Enola Holmes not only has an affection for Sherlock, but the fact is that Sherlock does have an affection for her. He's so used to being detached from everything in order to see all of the details so that he can understand and solve the case, that he has never been really willing to emotionally connect to anyone in years, maybe, or even more than that. And the fact that Enola challenges that concept, I love, because after she solves this whole thing about the potential Lord, and him trying to be killed, and all of that stuff, it's kind of a romantic subplot, but it's not really, because I kind of like the fact that it's more ambiguous about that. It's sort of shown very quickly that she's very awkward about the situation, but I kind of just attribute that to teenagers just being awkward around each other, because, I mean, let's face it, guys, when we were teenagers, we were all awkward around each other. There's no denying that. If you were really confident as a teenager, then not only do I envy you, but I also assume that you would like to ask me if I would like fries with that. I'm kidding. Of course I'm kidding. But the idea of it is that at the end of this, we have this little running thing between Sherlock and Enola, that Sherlock remembers this thing, this pine cone, that Enola used to drag around with her, and he gives it to her as like a sign, basically saying along the lines of going, I know that you're around, I know that you're safe, I want you to be safe, I want you to do what you do best, because you are like me. You are able to view things in a unique way like I do, but you're even more unique than I am because you see it differently from me. So, do your thing kind of mentality. And at the very end of the film, there's a brilliant bit where she's contacted in the paper through, like I said before, words that are rearranged to mean different things, and you can untangle the words and it makes a different sentence. All that lovely stuff. And it's kind of fun because she uncovers the mystery, or translates the sentence, and she instantly knows that it's a trap set by Sherlock and Mycroft. Now, I honestly don't think Mycroft had any hand in what was put in the paper. I think Sherlock 100% was, and I think he legitimately misspelt stuff. I think he legitimately said stuff that would tip her off that it was a trap. So she does go, but she goes in disguise and she hides as a paper salesman or something, a paper boy or a paper girl or whatever. And Mycroft and Sherlock are stood in the square, and they're looking out, and she goes, she's clearly outfoxed you, brother. And he sits back and goes, yes, I guess so. And the grin on his face is friggin' priceless. Because he knows that he deliberately tripped up. He knows that he deliberately wrote it so that she would know it's a trap. I don't think that was in any way, not his intention. I think that's exactly what he wanted. All he wanted to do was make sure she was safe. And it warmed my heart that at the end he said, I want to be the one to look after her, not you. So honestly, I would really love to see a sequel to this. I really would, because it would show... I want there to be a sequel where she and Sherlock have to work together. With Watson there, perhaps. Like, have it some years down the road, like with Watson having just appeared or something, and have Sherlock and Enola having to work together for these things. And I would love that. But like I said before, the casting, I feel, is totally top-notch. Minnie Brown in this is... she's genius. She really is. And there's bits where she talks to the camera. There's fourth wall breaking in this. And I'll be honest, for a lot of fourth wall breaking movies, you feel like it takes you out of it, or you feel like it's being too much of a comedy. But honestly, for stuff like this, it's brilliant. And there are certain films that I can count that I know fourth wall breaking wise are really good, and I actually do enjoy them, even though if they did take me out of the film, it's still fun to see. That being this film, Enola Holmes, The Emperor's New Groove, High Fidelity, and maybe Deadpool. Now, Deadpool is kind of not really there because fourth wall breaking is kind of his whole thing, so I kind of just want to leave it at those three, but whatever. But, hey, the film itself it's well shot, there's great locations, there's good acting, there's great costumes. The whole film just overall is well done, and it's stellar. Now, in complete honesty, I recommend that you go watch this. If you don't have Netflix, find Netflix, get Netflix, and then watch Enola Holmes. That's all I'm going to say. But in absolute honesty, no, seriously, check out the film if you can. It is brilliant. And honestly, I cannot wait to see more. In fact, you know what? I can't wait to see more from these people. I like watching these actors at work. I love seeing it. So you know what? For all of that, check it out. Randomfish, out.